Something strange happens as you get older. In childhood, a summer could feel like an entire lifetime. 1 month had enough room for new friends, long car rides, boredom, sunlight, fear, and the feeling that the world was still unfinished. But now a whole year can disappear almost silently. You reach back for it and find a few images, a meal, a trip, a conversation you almost remember, the feeling of being busy, and then almost nothing. Not because the year was empty, because somehow it became small. Every January, another year gone. Every birthday, the same quiet shock. The disturbing feeling that time is accelerating, that the years are getting shorter, that something is being taken from you before you can even hold it. You're not imagining it, but the explanation is not in the clock. It is in memory. Time is not speeding up. The clock is still doing what it always did. 60 seconds per minute, 24 hours per day. The physics has not changed. What changed is the way your brain stores the experience of being alive, because you do not remember time directly. You remember evidence of time, events, images, places, firsts, mistakes, surprises, moments that left a mark. When the brain looks backward and asks, "How long was that period?" it does not open a stopwatch. It opens an archive. If the archive is full, the past feels wide. If the archive is thin, the past feels short. This is why one afternoon in a foreign city can feel longer than an entire month at your desk. Not because the afternoon had more minutes, because it had more memory. Some parts of life are recorded in high definition. Others are compressed into a few blurry frames. And when you look back, the compressed years feel like they barely happened. So the real question is not why time moves faster. The real question is why your brain records less of it. The brain has a ruthless filing system. New things get saved. Familiar things get summarized. This is not a flaw. It is efficiency. A detailed memory is expensive. It takes attention, energy, and storage. So the brain makes a deal with itself. If something is new, record it. If something is predictable, use the template. The first time you walk into a new school, your brain records everything. The smell of the hallway, the strange faces, the sound of your shoes on the floor. The first time you drive to a new job, the road feels long. Every turn matters. But after the 100th time, the route disappears. You arrive, but you barely remember getting there. The road did not shrink. Your attention did. This is one reason childhood feels so long. Almost everything was new. The brain was constantly pressing record. Adult life is different. Same rooms, same roads, same screen. Same problems with slightly different dates. The brain sees the pattern and stops recording the details. The days still happen, but fewer of them become memories. A period of life feels long when it contains many distinct memories. It feels short when it contains only a few. Call it memory density. 2 months can have the same number of days and feel completely different. 1 month is filled with change, new places, new people, a problem you had to solve, a night you still remember. The other month is routine. Work, food, phone, sleep, repeat. On the calendar, they are equal. In memory, they are not even close. This is why difficult periods sometimes feel long. Not because pain is meaningful by itself, but because crisis forces attention. It interrupts the template. It makes the brain record. And this is why some happy years feel long. Not because happiness slows time, because certain kinds of happiness are full of newness. A new city, a new love, a new identity, a new version of yourself you had not met yet. Those years leave more traces. The cruel irony is that comfort can do the opposite. A safe routine can make life easier while making it feel shorter. Because the more predictable a day becomes, the less the brain needs to save. There is another reason the years shrink. And this one is mathematical. When you are 5 years old, 1 year is 20% of your entire life. It is enormous. At 50, 1 year is 2%. The same year, the same seasons, the same number of days. But as a fraction of your life, it is much smaller. Each year you live makes the next year feel smaller against the whole. Not because the year changed, because the denominator grew. It is like walking away from a building. The building does not shrink. but it looks smaller with every step. A year at 10 is a continent. A year at 40 is a room. A year at 80 might feel like a hallway. And the unsettling part is that you cannot stop walking. But there is a modern layer on top of all this. Attention. Attention is the doorway through which experience enters memory. If attention is not there, the moment may still happen, but it is barely stored. You can live through a day and leave almost no trace of it inside yourself. And modern life is very good at producing exactly that kind of day. Not empty days. Fragmented days. A notification here, a message there. A scroll between tasks. A video while eating. A thought interrupted before it can finish. The day is full, but it does not become whole. It breaks into pieces too small to remember. The loss is strange because it does not feel like loss while it is happening. It feels like stimulation. But later, when you reach back for that week, or that month, or that year, the archive is almost empty. Not because nothing happened, because you were not fully there when it did. Distracted time does not just pass. It fails to become memory. For most of human history, life had more edges. Seasons changed, and the body changed with them. Winter meant different work, different food, different light, different risks. A journey took time and was felt in the body. A letter arrived rarely, so it was read slowly. A festival was not just content. It was an event surrounded by waiting. This does not mean the past was better. It means the texture of time was different. Life had contrast, and contrast makes memory. Modern life has smoothed many of those edges away. The same temperature indoors, the same screen every day, the same rhythm of alerts, the same instant access to everything. No waiting, no distance, no clear boundary between one day and the next. When everything is available all the time, fewer things feel like events. And without events, time becomes a flat surface, easy to live through, hard to remember. This is where the science becomes uncomfortable. If felt time is memory, and memory depends on attention, novelty and contrast, then the length of your life is not only measured by how many years you get, it is measured by how much of those years you actually record. A life on autopilot can be efficient. It can be responsible. It can look completely normal from the outside, but internally it leaves very little behind. You manage the days. You complete the tasks. You answer the messages. You keep the machine running. And then one day you look back and realize an entire season passed through you without leaving a mark. This is not a self-help problem. The problem is quieter than that. It is whether the moment is allowed to become real enough to be remembered. Whether Tuesday is allowed to be more than Tuesday. Whether the ordinary world is ever allowed to feel strange again. Maybe this is why time scares us as we get older. Not because we finally understand how short life is, but because we notice how much of it can vanish while we are still alive. The years are not being stolen by the clock. They are being compressed by routine, by distraction, by familiarity, by the brain deciding again and again that this day does not need to be saved. And maybe we cannot make life longer in the way we want. We cannot add more hours to the year. We cannot become children again when every street corner was new and every summer felt endless. But maybe we can make time leave more evidence. Maybe a longer life is not only a life with more years. Maybe it is a life with more moments that the mind refuses to erase. Because in the end, the clock is not the only thing measuring your life. Memory is measuring it too. And memory only keeps what you were awake enough to notice.